Hello and welcome to my 5th F1 chat. My name is Alex's F1 Stuff, and today we are going to be covering a range of topics. There will be some F1 news. You can skip to this time on screen if you want to just avoid any other bits that I will talk about, as I'm going to give a brief rundown of what's going on right now outside of me making content before I get into the F1 news. So, for those that don't know, the government in the UK have locked us down and you can only go outside for essential travel and one form of exercise a day. It is honestly very surreal times that we are living in. This happened on Monday the 23rd of March around 8:30pm when the Prime Minister gave us a little chit-chat. So I was due to go back to my university accommodation on the Wednesday, as I still at that point had to go to work on that Thursday coming. So all of my main stuff, mainly my clothes, mostly, all my important bits of documents and just other sort of necessities that I did need and I will struggle to live without, were all up at my flat. I took the decision to drive to my flat, a 2-hour journey there and a 2-hour journey back, to load up my car and bring everything home. So that was done because I'd rather not get stuck in my flat where I have no one that is close to me nearby at all. I'm literally 2 hours away from my nearest family member. I'd much rather be at home with all of my stuff, and if anything, God forbid, does happen, I will be around people that care. So throughout that Monday I was making the video for my virtual Bahrain Grand Prix race review, which I was going to release in the evening of Monday. However, it then had to come out on Tuesday morning. Not so much of an issue really, just a little bit of an annoyance. So on top of now making content, which I absolutely love doing, I still have to attend all of my online lectures for university up until the end of the academic year in May. Uni obviously will always take priority over this, but right now I am home fully while still doing all of my studying, so I can hopefully catch up on a couple of backlogged ideas that I have and slowly catch up on some of the series as well that I am doing. It has been a very, very busy week and I do need to get myself into a good routine, and then it will just sort itself out, hopefully. Anyways, thank you guys for listening to me ramble a little bit about my current living situation and life in general. It has been a crazy week, so I will now get into some F1 news. So the first story comes from Chase Carey, and it is of course from the Formula One website, and it is a statement that was addressed to everybody. So in the statement, he says, over the past week, Formula One, the 10 F1 teams and the FIA have come together and taken rapid, decisive action as part of our initial response to the COVID-19 pandemic. While at present no one can be certain of exactly when the situation will improve, it will improve, and when it does, we will be ready to go racing again. We are all committed to bringing our fans a 2020 championship season. We recognise there is significant potential for additional postponements in currently scheduled events. Nonetheless, we and our partners fully expect the season to start at some point this summer, with a revised calendar of between 15 to 18 races. As previously announced, we will utilise the summer break being brought forward to March and April to race during the normal summer break period, and anticipate the season end date will extend beyond our original end date of the 27th to the 29th of November, with the actual sequence and schedule dates for races differing significantly from our original 2020 calendar. It is not possible to provide a more specific calendar now due to the fluidity of the current situation, but we expect to gain clearer insights to the situation in each of our host countries, as well as the issues related to travel to those countries in the coming month. With the benefit of the FIA's announcement and agreement in principle to freeze technical regulations throughout 2021, no summer break and factory shutdowns being moved forward to March and April, the sport now intends to race through the periods normally set aside for the summer break and fulfill the lost events from the first part of the year. This flexibility offers an opportunity to evolve the sport, experiment and try new things. That may include initiatives such as expanding our esports platform, developing more innovative content like Netflix's Drive to Survive, and other creative ways to drive ongoing value for the sport's sponsor partners, broadcast partners, race promoters, teams, and fans, the ecosystem of our fantastic sport. Between Formula One, the teams, and the FIA, working with our key stakeholders, we are planning and fully committed to returning to the track at the earliest opportunity to commence the 2020 season. We will continue to take advice from health officials and experts as our first priority continues to be the safety and health of our fans, the communities we visit, and those within the Formula One family. We're confident we'll all get through this and see better days ahead, and when we do, we will ensure that everyone invested in this sport at every level feels rewarded. Best wishes, Chase. So it's clear from that statement that Chase is still very much determined to bring us some sort of 2020 season with somewhere between 15 to 18 races, but that will probably definitely go down, unfortunately, due to the fluidity and the ever-changing nature of the epidemic. Christ, that sounded professional. Anyway, he also said moving the summer break forward to hopefully add in some more races in August, and also extending the calendar longer into this year past the end of November. I do have some issue with this though, as so far the 2021 season is going ahead, but not with the regulation change that we were expecting. So if we do end up running this season into December or even January, there is going to be very little time for rest before the teams have then got to start the 2021 season. Yes, the cars will be the same more or less, and yes, this is one of the longer breaks in between F1 seasons in F1 history, but that's not to say that the best option is to create one of the shortest off-season gaps in history. Moving on to our second story for today, and that is McLaren's engine change to Mercedes from Renault will still go ahead for next year. So as we move into the article, next year we will see two famous brands reignite a relationship that brought them plenty of success in the past, as McLaren take on Mercedes power units once again. So it says in the middle there, last week F1, the FIA and the Championship's 10 teams opted to delay the introduction of the 21 regulations, meaning that the 2020 chassis being carried over into next year will save costs in a financially challenging time. However, McLaren, who currently run the Renault power unit, had been planning on their 2021 design with the architecture of the Mercedes power unit in mind, but they now have to spend resource accommodating it to their 2020 chassis. So despite the challenge, the iconic British team are pushing on with the change. We will be using the Mercedes engine in 2021 as planned, and we will accommodate it in the current base chassis, said a McLaren statement. So even though their current 2020 chassis is accommodated to the Renault engine, they will have to spend the time and the resources to fit this new engine. So my thoughts on this is that they may end up coming up with some sort of compromise, possibly harking back to maybe their Honda days, the 2015, 16 and 17 Honda days, where they kind of like forced them to build an engine that fitted their car, but Honda didn't really do that so much. So they may end up sacrificing some sort of reliability in order to squidge in this new Mercedes engine into their car. So now this may not be the case, but it's definitely not going to be as seamless a change as it would have been for the new regulations now coming in 2022. So we may have to wait a wee bit longer for the true McLaren resurgence, where they will be fighting for podiums, pole positions, and maybe even race wins. So our final story, unfortunately, it's another postponement. It is the Azerbaijan Grand Prix that was set to be held in June, the beginning of June, I think. So the Azerbaijan Grand Prix has become the latest race of the 2020 season to be postponed. So the postponement was agreed upon after extensive discussions with Formula One, as well as the FIA and the government of the Azerbaijan Republic. This comes as a direct result of the ongoing global COVID-19 pandemic and has been based entirely on the expert guidance provided to us by the relevant authorities. It becomes the 8th race of the year to be postponed or cancelled. After the first 7 Grand Prix of the year were put on hold or called off, there had been some hopes that the first After the first 7 Grand Prix of the year were put on hold or called off, there had been hopes that the season could begin with the Azerbaijan race in Baku, but August's organisers have now confirmed the race will not go ahead as planned on June 7th. So this is another postponement, so it could get squidged into the summer or later on into December as they are planning on doing, as per Chase's statement just previously. But my personal opinion about the 2020 season is that it should be cancelled. The whole season, like the whole thing. It's hard to have your hopes up for some races, but then eventually, though, watching one by one as they get postponed or cancelled and taken away. Obviously, cancelling the whole season will have huge ramifications. The biggest one that I can think of at the moment is that teams will still be able to develop the current chassis being used in testing, or would there have to be a freeze on the construction for many reasons, including cost just spiralling out of control before the budget cap comes in. It could lead to a big mess. Anyway, though, obviously the UK teams, or the teams that are based in the UK, which I think is 8 of them, because I think it's only Ferrari, AlphaTauri and Alfa Romeo that aren't, so 7 of the 10 teams are based in the UK, and they've all now got to deal with this lockdown for, is it 12 weeks or 3 weeks? I can't remember. Oh dear, it's a bit of a mess. But as per Chase Carey's statement, he's working on ever evolving the esports team, the the Drive to Survive, bringing us new content and stuff that will satisfy us, but not as much as a race weekend or a full length season. All in all, everything is a bit of a mess right now, and there is so much fake news and misleading articles out there as well. It's why I try and get most of my information and news stories from the Formula One website itself, as that's what's going to be all the official information in this situation and not just speculative journalism. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video, whatever I plan it to be.